YORK In Wes Studi's potent and pioneering acting career, he has played vengeful warriors, dying prisoners and impassioned resistance leaders. In a love song, a tender indie drama starring another long-pigeonholed character actor, Dickey, Studi is for the first time cast as a romantic co-star. But it's sometimes taken some extra effort. When he heard man was making heat, Studi called up the director and got himself a part as a police detective. But recently, Studi is increasingly getting a chance to play a wider array of characters. Along with Max Walker Silverman's A Love Song, which opens in theaters Friday, he's a recurring, funny guest star on Sterling Harjo's Reservation Dogs, the second season of which debuts August. That's essentially what I want to work on, and being a godfather to Native people in the industry, he adds. With that, Studi, sitting outside the lobby of his East Village hotel in New York, lets out such a howl of laughter that he nearly doubles over. Why does that notion, when many would eagerly endorse, strike him as so hysterical? He entered Hollywood at a time when indigenous people were regularly played by white actors. A 2019 honorary Oscar made Studi the first Native American actor ever given an Academy Award. "I can't take myself seriously when I say that, that's why," he answers, wiping tears from his eyes. "I guess it could be." In person, Studi bears little resemblance to his fiercer screen roles. He's more like his characters in A Love Song and Reservation Dogs. He exudes a bemused gratitude for the life he's found as an actor despite spending half his life without Hollywood ambitions. Studi grew up outside of Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and spoke only Cherokee until he was 5. His father was a ranch hand. "I had never thought of acting, really, except once early in my life, when I asked my dad, when I saw Jay Silverheels on the Lone Ranger, 'Do you think anybody else can do what he does?'" Studi recalls. He said, "Probably not. Most of the actors you find are 6 foot tall, blonde and blue-eyed." He served one tour in South Vietnam and saw heavy action. When he returned home, Studi became an activist and joined the American Indian movement, taking part in the 1973 occupation of Wounded Knee. It wasn't until after he got divorced in his late 30s that Studi gave acting a shot on a lark, he says, with a Tulsa community theater company his friend was involved with. Studi thought, "What do I have to lose? The worst thing is that you could embarrass yourself. That's about it," he says. "They're not going to shoot you for it." Studi performed wherever the theater company could mount a stage or in gaslight dinner theaters. In one play, he co-starred with Will Sampson and David Carradine. After a few years, Studi headed out to Los Angeles. He was in his early 40s. "I still get the feeling of, will I ever work again? That's always been a part of it," said Studi. "On the other hand, things have worked out that I have continued to work. I don't take that lightly. I'm especially grateful that I've been able to buy a home and stay in a good car for an extended period of time." Studi remembers the Screen Actors Guild Book of Actors being a hefty tome, while the then newly founded American Indian Registry for the Performing Arts, listing Native actors, was a thin sliver. The parts available to him were also limited. "The only real opening for a guy who looked like me was in westerns," said Studi. "That's the only real door that was open to us in that point in time. It was simply a matter of being able to deliver lines and look like you mean it." After a few roles, Studi landed Dances with Wolves. 2 years later, Mann cast him as Magua in The Last of the Mohicans, the cunning Huron warrior who fervently believes in fighting, ruthlessly, for survival. With time, Studi's steely determined performance has only grown more searing. "Any native that's cognizant of history and the back and forth we've had with the colonizers, if you will, can have empathy with how he felt about things," said Studi. "When you're backed into a corner, you gotta fight. It's one way or the other." All those things had an emotional consistency to them that I could identify with, having been through the turmoil of the 70s. When first-time director Walker Silverman reached out to Studi, he had little reason to expect the actor of Geronimo, An American Legend, 1993, The New World, 2005, Avatar, 2009, and Hostiles, 2017, would say yes to a production as small as a love song. "What are the chances he'd want to come up here, eat my mom's food, hang out with my friends and make this tiny film," says Walker Silverman. But fortunately, Wes loves acting more than anything. In the film, Studi and Dickey share a gentle duet, with Studi on guitar. Walker Silverman planned for Studi to play a beat-up acoustic, but Studi, who has toured with his band Firecat of Discord, came to the set with a red electric and a small amp. Walker Silverman could tell the electric suited him better. During the Colorado shoot, Studi regularly strummed it with a big smile on his face. Wes is goofy as hell, has a lovely smile, and can play the hell out of a guitar. "I'm glad that some people will get to see that side of him," says Walker Silverman. Well over 100 films between them, the director adds that this was maybe the first time they had ever kissed someone on screen, says perhaps all sorts of sad things about who's been allowed to fall in love in movies. Dickey, the actor of Winter's Bone and Hell or High Water, grants she was a little nervous about the romantic moments that neither actor was particularly experienced in. "We've both played a lot of pretty rough people," she said in January during Sundance. "But he's such a kind, sweet, gentle soul. It was our first screen kiss. We both laughed a lot about that." Studi has goals beyond what he ruefully refers to as his first rom-com. "One thing he'd like to do is play a main character with the full trajectory, something he feels has only done in the Kevin Wilmot 2009 film The Only Good Indian. I'd like to play a lead that takes me from really good to really bad or vice versa, something that has a long arc to it," says Studi. "I want to continue to do this until I can't." Press Studi and Hal Grant that he sometimes gets letters from young Native American actors who say he inspired them to try. When Studi has been asked to talk to Native children, his message is simple: "If I can do it, you can too." And has followed along, a supporter to the max, he says, as an explosion of young Native talent has emerged in series like Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls, which was co-created by Navajo showrunner Sierra Teller Ornelas. Studi, who lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with his wife, Mordu, has also seen one of his 3 children, son Colin, pursue acting. Studi visibly brightens remembering when he and Maura mounted a one-man show with the kids helping out. Studi's son Daniel operated the lighting. His daughter, Lee, was backstage feeding him lines. "There were times she would get exasperated with me when I dropped something. Dad, that's not it," Studi says, laughing. "Oh, it was such fun." This story restores dropped letter in graph 9 and corrects spelling in graph 13. Follow AP Filmed writer Jake Coyle on Twitter at http://twitter.com